Hello, welcome to Jason on Millennial. My name is Jason, speaking to you here in Leavenworth outside the B&B Theaters here. Just got out of seeing Fantastic Four, a new superhero movie by Marvel, the third one this summer, or this year at least, and I come out saying, really solid movie. Really good. I'm glad we're getting a lot of good superhero movies lately, and I'm just happy that we got a good Fantastic Four movie. After what, I don't know, this is like the fifth one maybe in the series. And they've all been pretty terrible. They've been having a hard time getting a good one. I think they did a really good job with this. I think the best part of this movie for me is just the four main characters, their relationships with each other, and how that develops during the movie. Especially love Johnny Storm and Ben Grimm, the Thing. They're definitely the most fun parts and more comedic relief of the movie. And I love how they just kind of, tease each other all the time, give each other a hard time. Definitely they provide a lot of fun for the movie. But overall, yeah, all the relationships are really good throughout the movie. Overall plot is okay. Action is all right. It's not the most action-packed superhero movie, I would say, that we've seen. That's maybe the weakest part of the movie. Last climax scene is, pretty good. Galactic, is a common villain for the Fantastic Four. It does feel like he's a little overly powerful, and I do have a problem with overly powerful villains, though they do find a way to solve that problem in the movie. But and the other criticism I'd say is a little boring in the middle part, where they're trying to figure out how to defeat Galactus. There's this whole middle part where they're trying to kind of brainstorm and stuff and start building stuff and all this. I do find that part kind of boring, so I would say that's the biggest criticism. A little slow doing that part, but overall, really good film. I think one that whole family will enjoy, and one I definitely recommend going and seeing. And I'll talk to you later when I get back home. Hello, hope everybody's doing well here on a Saturday evening. Back home, watched Fantastic Four this kind of early evening period. And before I get to it, I just want to say a big congratulations to Mike from Did You See That, who just got to 10,000 subscribers. So deserving. He's got such a great channel, and he's just generally just one of the nicest guys I've ever met, and built such a great community, and he's been helpful to everybody that he knows. And Z Talks is just one of the coolest things I've ever been a part of. And so much fun talking movies with Mike, and just talking in general with Mike. He's just a really great guy and a really good friend. I got his shirt here, part of his merch. Add it to the list. Definitely want to support him anyway. So definitely, if you haven't subscribed to Mike, he's got that 10, or go over there and congratulate him. What a huge accomplishment, and so great for him. So anyway, just want to shout that out first. And getting back to Fantastic Four, watching it today. It's not, let's say, I already talked a little bit about that. It was overall a very solid movie. I wouldn't say it's one of my favorite movies of the year, though it's obviously going to be like a top 10 right now. Because I haven't seen like a lot of great movies. I've seen a lot of pretty solid movies though, and this is one of those. And like I said, it's the fourth superhero movie we got in this summer, which is kind of crazy when last year we only had like maybe one. And I'll say the superhero movies have gotten so much better this year after last year we had Deadpool and Wolverine, which was great. Then before that, we had just a bunch of really terrible superhero movies, one after another. And it feels like this is the first time we're getting some really big ones and some very important ones to the series, either Marvel or DC. And like I said, Fantastic Four, that was actually, I used to read Fantastic Four comics when I was a kid. I used to love reading comic books. I don't do that anymore, but yeah, when I was a kid, I loved Fantastic Four. Anyways, I think I was mostly really into the Thing, Ben Grimm, the Thing. I always thought that was the big rock monster. I thought that always looked cool, and so I think mostly interested because of that. That's what really got hooked in on reading Fantastic Four, is just getting to watch those panels of him beating people up. Really fun. But yeah, I thought it was a good series, a good comic book superhero series. Anyway, so yeah, there's definitely one of those series that are superhero groups that I've wanted to see, do well. And I remember the first time the first Fantastic Four came out, and I was kind of excited for that. I think it's not a great movie, though. There's some good moments, like Doctor Doom. I thought was done pretty well overall, and for the time, special effects were pretty good. I guess you can say all that. It's been a while since I've seen that movie, but I remember it being a little goofy at times, where I was like, okay, this is a little stupid. Some of the plot points. Um, Second movie, I thought was actually, again, Silver Surfer was really cool in the second movie. His scenes were really good, and Galactus though was just a big like smoke cloud, so it wasn't a very good villain overall. And again, I don't know, there's something about those two movies that there's something goofy about them that I didn't like. And of course, then we got the Fantastic Four with Miles, what's his name? Miles? Now I'm forgetting his name, and I know Michael B. Jordan's in that movie, and it's got a good cast, but I know that was just way off. It seemed a little darker than it needed to be, while the other ones are a little more fun and light-hearted a little bit. That one was a little too dark. I know we also got like a Roger Corman one way back in the day that I've never seen, but have really bad special effects. But anyways, just to say, it's one of those things where we've tried it like twice. We've tried the first two, which was somewhat successful. They made two of them. Then that reboot was so bad; it was a huge bomb of a movie. And so I felt like at this point, like, oh, should we do Fantastic Four anymore? Feels like we tried it twice and it didn't work both times. And so going back a third time, you're like, okay, we've already tried this. What are we going to do to make this work? And I'm happy to say this one worked way better than the other two. And I think it's partly due to a great cast. I think they did a good job writing the characters and developing the characters, and overall a decent storyline. And one of their major villains, Galactus, of course. I only know Galactus and Doctor Doom are kind of like the two big villains, I think, in the Fantastic Four series. There's probably some other ones I'm not as familiar with. So I'm glad. I always want them to do one of their major villains. Is always a good idea. And we've already done Doctor Doom quite a bit, I think. In the other two versions, we've already done Doctor Doom. So it's probably a good idea that they go away from Doctor Doom for a movie, because we're kind of getting tired of that character. Obviously, we're going to get Doctor Doom in the next Avengers movie. It's Avengers Doomsday. So we're going to get the Doctor Doom Doomsday storyline. So we'll see that. And we know Robert Downey Jr. is playing that character. So that's going to be a major thing. But so yeah, and I love the overall look of this movie. It's an interesting retro idea of them being the 60s. And so it has a real 60s, kind of look to it, yet very technologically advanced, because there's computers and flying car. They have a flying car basically that they drive in, and lots of technology, because of Richard Reed is like so smart. He just invents things that are beyond what you get in the 60s. But yeah, as far as costuming and like the cars and the look, I like quite a bit. Also, there's a lot of blue, and if you don't know, blue is my favorite color. You see, I wear blue. I wear a lot of blue if you watch my videos. So I do love a lot of the blue colors that are in the movie. I thought were quite good and looked pretty good overall. And so yeah, I like that. We've already got kind of an origin story of the Fantastic Four, so we don't really need an origin story. Again, I said the same thing about Superman. I'm glad we're not doing origin stories. We've done them to death. Let's just get on with this, what's going on at this point in time. And we do get like a little bit of flashback of the origin, so that's kind of good. So we kind of get sped up a little bit about like what happens in this version of Fantastic Four and how they became who they are. So it was nice. They didn't have to do a whole origin story, but yet kind of fit in the origin story within the movie, which I think worked really well. And like I said, I think the actors did a really good job. Pedro Pascal playing Richard Reed. I remember the first time they said Pedro Pascal, Richard Reed, I was like, Pedro Pascal. It didn't seem like it would fit, because Pedro Pascal is like, Latino, and Richard Reed's not Latino, he's just a white, generally. So it's like, okay, why are we getting a Latino guy to play the character? But whatever. Pedro Pascal seems very popular right now. He's in every other movie I see, it seems like he's in it. And I think that's a lot to do to Game of Thrones. That's the first time I ever saw Pedro Pascal. And he played one of my favorite characters, Oberyn Martell. Loved him in Game of Thrones. And I thought he was so good. Like his acting, one of the best performances in the show. Ever since that show, I'm like, anytime Pedro Pascal was in a movie, I was like, I want to see him, because he's so good in Game of Thrones. I thought, yeah, I want to see him do something major. And it feels like And there's been a lot of criticism that we're getting Pedro Pascal fatigue. That's been a big thing. We're seeing too much of him. He's in too many things. He's being overblown, all that. But I don't know. I still have so much, affection for him because of Game of Thrones that I still want to see him succeed and do some good work. Because I know he's can be a good actor. I think the problem is a lot of the stuff he's done has not been that great. Uh, for instance, Wonder Woman 1984 was a horrible movie. Gladiator 2 was a horrible movie. Mandalorian's great, but he's in a mask the whole time. He's on I say mask, helmet all the time. So it's not a real great, uh, example of his acting abilities. He's in The Last of Us, which I don't know. I don't think it was that great. In other words, I just see him stuff and think, man, if he just get good material, he could be good. And I think this was a really good performance by Pedro Pascal. I would even say this is my favorite performance of his since Game of Thrones. I think this is the first time I thought he really gave a good performance. And I thought, okay, this is the Pascal I wanted to see. I've been wanting to see for a long time. So I'm kind of happy that seems like the first time for me that I can think of that he was given a great opportunity to show what he can do. And again, Richard Reed's kind of interesting character because he's just super smart. He's just constantly thinking, constantly worrying, too, constantly second guessing himself, even though he's just a genius and he knows he's a genius, but yet he wants everything to work perfectly, so he's very overly organized. It's actually a real good character and works well with the group anyways. Vanessa Kirby, I think very good Sue Storm. She's like an Oscar nominated actress. Uh, Good job, especially the scenes where the very more emotional scenes, she does a really good job. And portraying again, if they have a baby. So she does a good job portraying this mother who's fighting for her baby, who's worried about her baby's health or safety. Great job in those scenes. I really feel it in her. Joseph Quinn, who plays Johnny Storm, man, he is so good. I know he's been in a couple of things here and there. It seems like he's a name that's been popping up more and more as I'm watching movies, and I see his name more and more. And man, he's a star in the making. Like if he's not a star right now, like if he can get the right lead role in something, like this guy is really great. And I see really good things happening for Joseph Quinn playing this Johnny Storm character. And he's definitely one of my favorite characters, maybe my favorite character in the movie, because he's definitely, very jokey at times. He's got almost like a comic relief type character. Him and Ben Grimm, the Thing, both have a lot of comedic moments in the movie. The movie's not overly funny, but it does have some good funny moments within it, but not too much. So I think they do a pretty good balance of seriousness and comedy, which I like there to be a little bit of both in my superhero movies. I like a little drama, a little comedy, mix it, match it, don't want to be too serious, but sometimes you can get too jokey at the same time, and you go, okay, bring it back. I don't think they overdid it in the joke department, and again, bounces well. And a lot of that I think is as to the writing and the acting. I think Joseph Quinn and that character, like I said, can be very fun. Yeah, it has some good moments as well. That there's actually, and I'll talk about it maybe a little bit. There's actually one moment that I really kind of got a little emotional about, and it deals with Joseph Quinn. But anyways. So really great performance, really great character and all that. And then I said, The Thing is great. Love him. He's also very lighthearted at times, very, jokes. He likes to play with the kids, and lift the car up and the way he does it, he pretends like he can't lift the car up. And he goes, I don't know, it might be too heavy. And then he lifts it up real easy. The way he does that, it just makes him just a very character it's easy to be fond of. And it's easy to really like, it's such a likable character. And I just love that he always wants to punch things. He's always, Richard Reed's trying to, give him this really complicated plan of what they're going to do. And he's just like, I just want to punch things. And so he has some great moments like that. And yeah, the group together, like I said in my original, or in their intro, is that, man, they work so well together, of course, because there's a husband and wife, there's a brother, and then like a best friend. So they had such great chemistry together, the whole four of them. And we see that throughout the movie, the way they talk to each other, the way they are worried about each other's safety and are willing to sacrifice themselves for each other. And the way they just kind of give each other a hard time is really what I love. So yeah, the best part of the movie really is just them, the four together, just, hanging out or doing this and that. and seeing their relationship and see how they interact with each other is really, really good about the movie. And I think the big success of this movie is that they really, I think, really did a good job writing these characters and capturing what the Fantastic Four and why they're such a popular group. They've been around for a long time. I think they say they're called the first family or something like that of Marvel. Yeah, there's a reason why we keep trying to make more Fantastic Four movies. There's something there, and I think they finally captured that dynamic very well. As far as the story, yeah, it's all about Galactus. You got this Silver Surfer lady, and he's going to eat the planet, and they got to go figure out how to stop him. And he's overly powerful. Like, physically, they can't stop him. He's huge. He's got like all kinds of powers. Yeah, so it's one of those where, and this is where it hurts the movie a little bit for me. I prefer villains that they have to like work together and they can defeat the villain, but he's going to be very difficult to beat, but they can defeat him. I don't know. I'm not as crazy about villainous characters that are just impossible to defeat. You have no chance against them, of course, and you have to think of another way to defeat them, which they do. And I guess, that has some merit in itself, but I don't know. It's something about the villain. It makes it a boring villain for me if they're just like, you can't beat them physically. They're just, what do you call it, impenetrable or whatever. You hit him with everything you got and he just like brushes it off, and again, he's in the movie, but he's not he doesn't have a lot of screen time, I don't think, till the very end. He finally kind of comes out and you get kind of the big battle at the end. So he doesn't have like a lot of personality or anything. I would like a villain that has more personality personally. So I'm hoping Doctor Doom is like a better, I think personally that's a better villain. So I know we're getting up to that, but again, this is a good first movie to kind of just establish this world and these heroes. So, that's fine for this. I just hope we get a better villain, of course, with Doctor Doom later on. But yeah, so they go try to, Silver Surfer comes and says, if you've seen the trailer, and if you've seen Silver Surfer, the other Fantastic Four movie, it's all about, he comes in, the female Silver Surfer comes and says, Galactus is going to come, destroy the planet, kind of warns them for some reason. And then they go, oh my God, we got to get together. So they get on their spaceship and they go find Galactus to either negotiate with him, like, hey, don't destroy our planet, or if we can defeat him, just defeat him. And in fact, in the movie, we get a montage of them defeating different enemies. So that was kind of cool to see, okay, they've come together and fought supernatural beings before and protected the Earth before. So this is nothing new. This is just another villain. Of course, this ends up being a much more powerful villain than they've ever gone against. And so that's part I didn't know was in the movie. It wasn't really in the trailer. So that was kind of interesting, them going to find Galactus and kind of trying to talk to him and going like, hey, what's up? Why are you trying to destroy our Earth? And I'm going to spoil the movie a little bit because maybe quite a bit, but it's hard not to talk about what I maybe like or dislike about the movie without spoiling some parts of the movie. The big thing is that Sue Storm is pregnant, and she's pregnant when they go meet Galactus, and Galactus can scan people and stuff, and he can see that she's pregnant, and there's something about the baby. Of course, the baby, I guess, has cosmic powers because the parents do. And so it's very powerful. So they give the sense that the baby is going to be very, very powerful. And so Galactus wants the baby because it'll help it in some way. Of course, they're like, no, we're not going to give up the baby. That's our baby. And it's this weird moment where he's like, won't destroy your planet if you give me the baby. Then I won't destroy the planet. And then they're like, well, no, we're not going to give you our baby, which is, understandable. It's your baby and you want to protect it. And I do really like that part because, Hollywood liberals love nothing more than killing babies. And here we get a story where we want to save the baby. That's amazing. That's a very pro-life message. And for me, I was like, yeah, that's great. We usually get very liberal, woke politics in these superhero movies. So it's nice to get one where there's not liberal politics, actually a fairly conservative one. Let's save the baby. And the baby's inside her stomach, and they're like, yeah, it's a baby. We're going to save it. We don't want anybody, and they really want to sacrifice that for the baby. Yeah, I love that. That's such a great message, I think, that we don't get enough in movies and in real life too, So that was something, and I was a little kind of shocked, like, wow, wasn't expecting, that kind of thing to happen. So that was really nice. Anyway, so So this whole thing, so they go back to Earth because they can't. One of the more fascinating action sequences, I would say, in the movie. Like I said, it didn't have a lot of action necessarily, except for a lot of them, almost dying and having to escape. Basically, is a lot of the action. It seems like, and there's this whole chase sequence where the Silver Surfer's chasing them through space and trying to get the baby, and they're trying to figure out how to get away from the Silver Surfer. So it's a very exciting scene and very tense and very well done, I would say. Anyway, so after that, they get back to Earth, and of course, there's a press conference. As soon as they walk off the spaceship, there's a press conference. They're like, "Hey, tell us how you defeated Galactus," which is really funny because they're looking at each other like, "What? Defeat him? Who said we defeated him?" And of course, so they have to give them the truth and say that, well, we didn't defeat him. And of course, they're like, "Well, oh my god!" And one maybe the stupidest moment in the whole movie that I really thought didn't make any sense was that Richard Reacher tells them that, oh, well, we were negotiating, and the only way the Galactus was going to not destroy the world is if we gave him our baby. And it's like, well, now everybody's going to turn against the Fantastic Four because they're like, what? You're going to let us all die because you don't want to give up your baby? Which partly doesn't make sense in the sense that if you give Galactus your baby, it doesn't destroy your planet. Now you lose your baby, which is terrible, but you save a bunch of lives. If you say, oh, I'm not going to give you my baby, then Galactus destroys the planet and kills your baby. So either way, your baby dies. So, but I understand you don't want to give up your baby. That's your baby, You're very protective, which I really admire that the parents in this movie want to protect their baby. That's a great thing. But it's so stupid that Richard Reed tells the people this. This was a conversation only between them and Galactus. Nobody had to know that was part of the conversation. It just makes you look bad. You could have just said, no, we tried to, beg him not to, destroy our Earth, and he was too powerful, which doesn't make sense why they didn't say something like, this dude is humongous, he's as big as a skyscraper, and we tried to fight him, but he's just too powerful for us, so we just barely got away. I mean, we just barely got away with our lives to get back here and tell you, yeah, this is, we can't defeat him like with our powers and all this, they don't say any of that. They're just like, oh, we could have given her a baby, but we didn't want to, so you're all going to die. And they're like, what? You're selfish and all this. It's like, so stupid. It's like, don't mention that. And maybe it's just, and they have a PR lady that's supposed to help them with that kind of stuff. But, and again, it's a press conference right when they get home. It should have been like, hey, we met Galactus, he wouldn't give in, and we couldn't defeat him, we barely got away from our lives, and we're going to go try to figure out what to do next, and that should be the end of the press conference. And then they should be in talks with all the world leaders and try to come up, brainstorm stuff. Instead, the whole movie is just the four of them are doing everything. It's like, are there any leaders that are in on this? Shouldn't the leaders be, also talking out what to do? Because it's the whole Earth that's going to be destroyed. So we should all be united as countries and what to do to stop this from happening. So it's weird that only they are talking with each other and not talking with other. At least we don't see them talking with other people. It seems like there should be more people involved in the decision making. Of course, Richard Reed's so smart, so I guess they just say, well, Richard Reed will come up with, he's the only one who can come up with an idea. Anyway, and so they do come up with a plan. So that makes sense. Let's brainstorm the best plan. And it's we can't defeat them. So their plan, which actually makes sense in the end, and I won't give everything away, but say their kind of major plan is we can't beat him, but if we can lure him in, and we built this transportation system that if we can get him within these, transportation thing, they call the bridge, whatever, we can transport him to another part of the galaxy. And so he can't, kill us or something like that, or take him a long time to find us. So that makes sense. It's okay, we can't defeat him, but we can use our brains to, come up with a device. And the thing is, Richard Reed's so smart, he can invent anything, He's one of those people where it seems almost too convenient that he's able to invent things at a whim's notice to do. Anyways, that's part of, just convenient writing for movies, which, happens in superhero movies. So it's a little weak in that sense, whatever. But, so okay, that's a plan. So they come up with this plan. Though it's why would Galactus be so stupid to fall for this trap? That part doesn't make sense. So I don't know if it's the best plan, but it was the best plan they can come up with. So I get it. They're in a bind. And then when we get to the very kind of last battle scene with Galactus, Um, two moments I really love is Sue Storm is like going to sacrifice herself to save the baby, which again, I love the idea. Parents sacrifice themselves to save their child. Yeah, that's a great, superhero moment. It makes you really like the character for doing that. So I do love that. And then also, Johnny Storm actually has a moment where you can see that he's deciding that he's going to sacrifice his life to save the whole planet, basically, and everybody. And that was the most emotional moment of the movie. That's the moment where I was like, wow, that was again, a great, moment that almost makes me, tear up a little bit to see Johnny Storm is kind of like I said, more of the comedic character, but had this really great serious moment of like him deciding that, I'm willing to die if it saves everybody. That's the best thing you can think of a superhero is willing to sacrifice themselves to save the humans that don't have powers. That's why we love superheroes is because they have powers and they're willing to sacrifice in order to save those of us who don't have the powers and are weaker and more vulnerable. That's a superhero. So those are two really great moments at the end of the movie that I really like. Anyways, but yeah, the last battle, again, it's hard because Galactus is just too powerful. They can't really defeat him. They do find a way, and I won't get into how they do defeat him, all that. But all works in the end. Like I said, the biggest problem, one of the biggest problems of the movie for me is that there is middle section that it's like the whole first part actually really cool and exciting when when they find out about Galactus, and they kind of spend time just kind of introducing the characters, developing them, and then we go find the Galactus and we find out, about the baby thing, and then there's this moment where they're trying to plan on what to do with Galactus, and there's some drama, some little bit infighting. That's the only part I didn't care about the movie, where I was kind of getting bored, and I was like, okay, we need something exciting to happen because I'm getting a little bored with the story. And then, like I said, once we get to like the last battle sequence with Galactus coming to Earth, then that part is very exciting. So it's like very exciting beginning, most of the exciting parts in the beginning part, and then you get that part at the end, and then there's a whole middle part that I thought was kind of slow and boring. So still, I think it was a really solid movie. I'm still going to give it 3.5 out of 5 stars, which is a very good movie. Yeah, like I said, I don't know if it'd be in my top 10 at the end. It'd be top 10 right now. We'll see what other movies come out, but very, very happy. Like I said, I'm very happy that we finally got a good Fantastic Four movie that we can hang our hat on and go, okay, this is a good start. I can watch this one again, and hopefully we have some good sequels up ahead. Of course, Avengers kind of somewhat the next sequel, I guess, coming up, Avengers Doomsday, anyways, which they kind of tease in this movie as well, and all that. So yeah, so very happy about that. Again, very happy about the superhero movies we gotten. The only movie I didn't like was Thunderbolts, which I give 2.5 stars. But this I'm giving 3.5 stars. I gave Captain America Brave New World 3.5 stars. And I'm giving Superman 4 stars out of 5. So Superman is my favorite out of the 4, and Thunderbolts has been my least favorite. But still, for 4 movies, and you don't get like a Ant-Man Quantumania, whatever that movie was, like, this is way better than like that movie. And I'm gonna forget what other movies, but what other movies came out. These are just much better. So it's good to see that Marvel and DC maybe are in a good spot and they're moving in a good direction. So besides that, that's my review of Fantastic Four. Please feel free to comment what you thought about the movie if you've seen it. And besides that, thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you for liking it. Thank you to all my subscribers for supporting the channel. I appreciate you all and I hope you have a good day.